That's what I would have did.
Hello, welcome to RantCraft, the series where I complain about politics whilst pretending that it's actually about Minecraft. Or honestly, it could be vice versa. I think I'm more playing Minecraft and pretending it's about politics. Either way, I'm just doing this for my own amusement, and to get things out of my head so I don't have to rant to my family members and have them hear that, and then, you know, sometimes they're not as informed on me in an issue, and it really frustrates me, to no end, sometimes. So, you know, rather than do that, I talk to you about politics, and that intro was exactly what you thought it was. That was a, recreation of, oh my goodness, I'm so lucky. Charlie Kirk being, assassinated. And because, you know, I did that because I wanted to talk to you about, well, I wanted to talk to you about political violence. And I honestly just thought it was funny, Rip Bozo. And, you know, whenever something happens to somebody on the right, you always hear Americans, especially American leftists, saying, "Oh, this is so horrific. This is so bad," you know. And usually, the funnier part is that it's usually a right-wing individual who's actually perpetuating the violence. But you know, a lot of leftists will and liberals will kneel and advance. And you notice I say leftists and liberals a lot. That's just because they're functionally identical within America. You know, within maybe like Europe or wherever, it might be different. But here in America, our liberals are, even people who are more left than liberal call themselves liberal. And while I hate it, there's nothing I can do about it, you know. But you often see these leftists bend the knee on a lot of issues beforehand, because I think we Americans have this like trauma, this socio-political trauma due to past persecution, because like the Red Scare wasn't that long ago, right? And so we often I'm gonna have to raise my house. We often apologize in advance for things, or we make takes that I think are sometimes counterproductive so that we don't get targeted for persecution. And I'm not saying that persecution doesn't exist, because let's be real, it does. You do one thing concerning, like, you know, Saros TV, he's leftist, right? I would say, you know, he's not like blue hair snowflake, but he is more left than most, you know, mainstream talking heads. And recently he lost his job because he said some pretty milquetoast things about Charlie Kirk. And what did he say? Pretty much that you just don't have to feel bad for the guy, because, you know, he said a lot of terrible things, and, you know, he kind of built that world for himself. Can I do a 3x3 expansion? Yes. And he didn't say that it was justified. He in fact said some very good things about Mr. Kirk. And even then, even if you completely, you know, even if you're so chill about it, the American right doesn't care. They want to take away your freedom of speech, right? And so I think that we should just say, fuck it, right? I think that we should just embrace this attitude of, you know, okay, well, these fuckers want us dead, and we want them dead. Like, one of the core tenets of morality has always been, you know, kill the bad guy, get the girl, right? But now, all of a sudden, it's, sorry, it's pressing escape. Now, all of a sudden, it's like something we need to be ashamed of, and I'm just, like, tired of it, you know, honestly. Violence has been the way that we've solved things for millennia. Not because it's useless, but because it's useful, right? And in pretty much every peaceful leftist movement, you have it being led in the background by non-peaceful leftists. And, you know, I think that we need to just acknowledge that Tolkien was right about morality, essentially. One when he said, like, oh, there are good guys and there are evil guys, and the good guys should fight the evil guys, you get a lot of people saying, oh my God, that's so simplified. We have a bunch of people saying, oh my goodness, Tolkien. I'm sick of that simple good versus evil dynamic. But I think Tolkien just got it on the nose, right? They're just people who are agents of evil, because there's no real good reason to be conservative. I mean, you might have values, right? Like, you might value different things than a leftist, but generally, left-wing answers to problems satisfy the vast majority of people, and they get rid of the vast majority of problems. They're more science. They're more, they're pro-science. They're pro everything that's pretty much good, right? I can't think of a single left-wing policy that couldn't just be described as, good, or at least good-natured, but maybe the wrong answer to the problem, because, not all left-wing answers are perfect. But I think that we've been bickering about conservative versus, left or liberal, when it's really just a fight versus good and evil, and conservatives just pretend they're not on the evil side, when in fact all of their answers benefit the few and hurt the many. And that's the only thing that's consistent between most conservative policies. They don't benefit the vast majority of people. Like, if you're truly conservative, you just think like, oh, we shouldn't change things that quickly. And that's a fair, but that's not what most conservatives are. Let's be real. Most conservatives, and that's fair to a certain extent, when you know that something's objectively wrong, you should probably stop doing that. Instead, do things that are not objectively wrong. Anyway, my point is, what the fuck is like flashing? I feel like we're getting nuked. Oh my God. It'd be crazy if this like video of like nuke footage, Anyway, besides the real life nuclear bombs that seem to be going off, I just think it's absolutely egregious how much we've sort of bent the knee on violence. How much we've sort of said, like, okay, well, pretty much all violence is evil, and it's bad whenever anyone dies. I'm so tired of it, like, why? Do you think your ancestors fought Nazis in World War I for you to be such a cuck about this? Like, it's just annoying. And it's annoying how, like, people are, like, right-wing conservatives are pretending that they're like anti-violence now because like one guy got shot and oh my God, the left wants to kill you, even though it was a right-wing motherfucker that killed Charlie Kirk. Let's be clear, because the right is made up of evil people, and evil people aren't mentally stable. You're either evil or you're brainwashed, and you haven't put in the proper amount of work to be good. Like, what does it take to be good? It takes the intent to be good, and then it takes the proper effort put in, right, to actually make sure that you're doing the right thing. And conservatives and conservative policies and conservative rhetoric are, in fact, the opposite of this. They are purely just evil. And I'm not saying like pure evil, like they can't change, because I don't believe anyone is necessarily inherently evil or good. It just depends on really the stage of their life or what they're going through, But I kind of find how much leeway we give them to be gross. Every single major political entity ever has relied upon political violence as one of the primary mechanisms, or one of the mechanisms of defending itself, even if it's not necessarily proactively violent. And we act like political violence is like, oh my God, that's going to destroy the country. No, what's destroying the country is the material conditions that are creating the political violence. People don't kill each other for no reason, because when you kill someone in America, you pretty much have a very short timer for like how much time you have remaining, right? And most people don't want to die. So if you're killing someone, you're sacrificing your life essentially. And what lefties don't get is, or what the people saying this don't seem to understand, is that if someone feels the need to kill someone else, right, they're already at a point where it's a sign. It's not a problem itself. It's a symptom. And I'm just sort of tired of people just forgetting that, you know? Like, I'm tired of people pretending like this is just like people don't ideologically kill each other most of the time. Unless they're just completely insane, people don't ideologically kill each other. They kill each other because they think that they have to. Or they kill each other because things are so bad in their life that they don't have any other option, right? Because murder in the modern day is tantamount to suicide. It is tantamount to giving your life away. If someone's killing someone else, it's not because, oh, well, it's just because we disagree. No. Yeah, you don't know. Like, people who say that don't understand what it takes to commit an act of violence. Right? They think that it's just all mental. They have such an idealist image of what it takes to be violent. And they don't seem to realize that it takes, like, you need to feel like you're in danger, right? You need to feel like you don't have any other options to kill someone over politics, right? And that's exactly what the Charlie Kirk shooter, I imagine, felt like. He felt like he didn't have any options. He felt like that was the only way that he could have solved things. Oh, I'm going to take some fall damage here. And I'm just so tired of us painting this in such an unrealistic and idealistic light. People do things for reasons. Not just ideas. It's nigh impossible to get somebody to kill another for an idea, right? This wasn't... We don't have... I think even the phrase political violence is sort of a misnomer, because they really mean political assassinations. And political assassinations happen because people have material incentives. People don't sacrifice their lives for ideas. Not typically. Unless they're very unstable. That's not what happens. And yet... We're so, like, we're disavowing violence so much, and it's just like, why? It is one of the fundamental tools. Kill the bad guy, get the girl. That's like lesson 101 of fucking morality, right? And we're being taught that, you know, all the previous morals are wrong because that's barbaric. But do you think the United States government doesn't kill people? I don't think there is a government that doesn't kill people, right? Every government enacts political violence. But when they do it, it's all right because, you know, we voted for them. Except sometimes we didn't vote for them. Sometimes they just got into power through ages-old systems or through things that other nations did, right? And this idea that, you know, it's all hunky-dory when a government does it, but when a person does it, it must be shamed. And, you know, I'm not saying most people, if you ask them, oh, do you think we should kill people like in war? Most would probably say, no, I don't think that. Are you insane? And, you know, fair. But we kind of view government violence as this, like, thing that is fine to a certain extent. And I'm just... like, we treat it differently than we do other forms of violence. And I'm just kind of sick of it, because it's the same, right? It's not, oh, you know, the government is different somehow. And you know, in fact, I would prefer people killing each other to, like one-on-one people killing each other to governments killing people. Call me crazy, but I would prefer more political assassinations and fewer state-sponsored killings. I can kill my fellow man. How the fuck am I supposed to fight the U.S. government, right? And I know maybe this seems a little crazy to even be saying, but you know, like, seriously, think about it. What are you supposed to do if the U.S. government wants you dead? Lay down and die. That's your options, right? And yet, it's somehow considered more normal, more okay. And whenever we have violence on the individual level, it's considered, like, absolutely disgusting and, you know, like, this thing that we should never even consider. And, you know, I just think that it's ignorant. It's ignorant of the arguments that it's making, and it's ignorant of, I think, the most fundamental part of morality, which is you know, sometimes who genuinely, what movements genuinely believe in complete nonviolence? Because you name me a movement that says it's about complete nonviolence, and I'll name you a violent thing they did. Unless you're like talking about those guys who are like, I went in the army and I said I wouldn't use a weapon, so I just became a medic or whatever. But like, fuck you. Oh my god, you're so annoying. You're so annoying. I don't even care if you're morally in the right or whatever. You're so annoying. I hate that type of guy. Anyway. Well, no, I don't hate that type of guy. It's just that type of guy annoys me, and I act like I hate him. But honestly, that type of guy is better than fucking, you know, at least that guy's morally consistent. People who say that they're like socialist or communist, like and I get why you're Hassans. Like when Charlie Kirk got assassinated, I get why you're Hassan Pikers and whatnot. We're like, this is really bad, because that could have been them, right? I get why your bigwigs are like that. But I do think that it is, you know, morally inconsistent with pretty much every set of morals. And yet, we act like it's this big deal. It's like the worst thing you can do to kill another over what you believe is right and wrong. But like we're also just not acknowledging, like, if you're concerned, if you have an ideology and you genuinely believe that thing, you are always at war. Unless your cause, I mean, even if your cause is winning, it's never just one and done, right? Governments and whatnot change so quickly. So even if your cause is winning, you're obviously going to be fighting if you have a cause, right? That's just, and you know, if you think that you can fight a political war and have nobody die, or have, you know, no violence come of that, you're laughable. If you genuinely don't care about anything beyond like fucking having kids and dying at 60, then sure, you know, maybe, I mean, even then, there are people that maybe you'd want to beef with, because there are people who are interfering with their kids' abilities to have safe childhoods. There are people who are allowing people to have guns willy-nilly. And you might be like, oh, are you anti-gun? Not necessarily, but I think that, you know, the fact that we are not doing anything to curb gun violence, you know, like the accessibility of guns is a problem. I think that it sucks that a lot of kids are dying, even if I want people to have as many guns as possible. And, you know, I'll make a separate video on why I'm sort of pro-gun, anti-gun. Like, I don't want... I have very conflicted feelings on guns, but that's not what this is about. It's about a related topic, which is everybody being such little bitches about political violence. Like, is it not tiring to have something that you believe and having to, like, put it to the side for some supposed idea of morality, even though, you know, your enemies aren't, because they're smart? Oh, they're not smart, but, you know, they know how to win. They're playing the game. You can't not play the game, right? If one person is trying to kill you and you're just saying, I don't want to fight, you're surrendering. That's what you're doing, right? And not to, like, encourage needless violence, not because I find it immoral, but rather because I think it's like not that useful on an individual level, unless you're just a really good, unless you consistently like hit your targets and all that. I think that it's just like such a, it causes a lot of headaches. But you know, I'm not anti-violence, and you know, I think that you shouldn't be either. You see, your Kirks, for every one Charlie Kirk, there's like 10 George Floyds, right? There's 10 tragedies created by the state for functionally no purpose, and you just don't hear about them that much because they're not as famous. And I'm not saying like all police are necessarily all actors of the state. Sometimes they're just fucking psychos, but they're psychos that we let have guns, and so they become psychos that are allowed to do a thing. And what someone's allowed to do is also, you know, part of politics. And, well, they're not, we don't allow them. A lot of people have this idea in their head that cops just go around killing willy-nilly, and they do. That is correct. But we don't just allow them to do that. We just put them in a situation where they're allowed to do similar things, and then they also kill people willy-nilly, you know? And that's sort of the problem is more the ease of allowance that we give these people more so than, you know, yeah. I hope this sort of makes sense, and I think I'm gonna keep this video going for a little bit because, you know, I'm feeling it. Honestly, I'm feeling myself with this violence thing. I'm just, if you're annoyed with, whoa, didn't mean to do that, but that's super cool. Actually, hold on, I might be cooking. This is why you should mod Minecraft, because you can make like trapdoor bridges and it's super easy. You can do this in vanilla Minecraft too, but you know, this is just way faster and like, yeah, is it technically like cheating or whatever? Sure. But I think we can all see the elephant in the room, which is that this is cool as fuck. Ooh, I'm gonna unhollow this. And then I doop. Oh my goodness. I'm just like, ugh, it's so annoying. Because, like, you can just believe things. I'm so tired of us having to tone down all of our language all the time because what we believe isn't 100% mainstream, you know? It's just so sickening, right? Like, if, every time someone left-wing wants to speak, because they're more intelligent, because they're more thoughtful, because they, you know, are actually considering things and not just doing what feels right. Because I think that's the main thing that makes someone, like, conservative in America. At least, you know, the on-paper conservative, not, as I said before, the, oh, you just believe that we should, you know, do change slowly or whatever. But, like, the, as for someone, what makes someone an actual American conservative, I think that one of the main things is that they just act on their gut feelings and what their daddy told them and what they feel is right. And leftists and liberals think about what's right. Even if they don't always come to the conclusions, those are things that they genuinely thought through and they came to those conclusions. You don't come to the conclusion that conservatives are right unless you've just been, like, really brainwashed, you know, like one of those, I used to be leftist, but, like, actually they just thought that you shouldn't kill black people. And now they just think you should kill black people willy-nilly, because let's be real, that's your average American conservative. But I'm just so tired, so tired of us being little bitches. I just wish we could say, you know, that's when the, I want people to come to the conclusion naturally. I don't want it to necessarily be like, oh, everybody's just saying this now. I want people to say, yeah, actually, I don't think it's necessarily awful to kill people for a cause, you know? Because it's not. It's just something you have to do sometimes. Or not have to do. But you know what I mean. It's just something like that there may come a day where you might have to choose, do I want a better world or do I want to not have to kill somebody? And you're probably, you know, I want people to make the correct choice, like, oh, okay, you know, I'm gonna have to fight in this war. And a lot of people, like, whenever you say anything about an American civil war or whatnot, they're like, oh, wow, you're never gonna win or whatnot. And you don't want civil war, but, like, you know, I don't want it just because I think that the left is currently unprepared, and also the capital class, you know, probably will put a lot of money and effort and make this and make it as annoying as possible. But point is that I want people to, because one, I just think that this is the correct take. I just think that the world is better when people accept that there's a certain level of violence they might have to commit, right? And I think that us just using this thought terminating, like, violence is so evil, you know, soy jack thing, is fucking annoying me. You know, I want you to think about the things you're doing, and I want you to think about the things you're saying, and I want you to come to a better conclusion, because you're coming to bad conclusions. Anyway, I hope that I'm not, I'm triggering YouTube's like, oh, you're saying violent things, but like, I think that how we treat violence in America, and we do this specifically just so that the capital class can feel more comfortable. I think how we treat violence in America is dumb. It helps nobody. It doesn't help the capital class, and it doesn't help Americans. So why are we doing it? All it does is help maintain our current status quo. And our current status quo, we have pretty high qualities of life on paper. But ask an American, like, oh, what would happen if you went out of work? And you would often get answers that are worse than answers you'd find in countries that have fewer resources, right? Because we don't take care of people in America. America just sort of, does that thing. It just Hawk Tuah spits on that thing. It's not a government. It's barely a government. It's barely even a country, right? America is just a place where people live, and then also they tend to have a lot of money, so things are good for now. But things won't always be good if we don't put in the work to make sure that we have actual systems, and we have actual protections, and we have actual rights, because our government is functionally non-existent. Like, what can you think of that our government does that is just, like, exceptional, right? It is our government, the U.S. government, is the most, like, showing up to work and then, zoning out and clocking out at the end of the day. It doesn't care. And unlike a lot of worse governments, or unlike a lot of better governments, it doesn't do anything. Like, yes, there are a few, like, legal protections, whatnot, and it's great that we have them, that they don't have in other countries, but relative to what we should have, relative to what we know we could have, it is horrible, right? Like, if you talk to a European, once you visit Europe, you'll never want to stop beating Henry Kissinger to death with your bare hands. It's just kind of sickening how because we have things better than some people, all of a sudden it's like completely okay. Even though the reason we have things better than other people, it isn't because the US is a better place. It's because we have more resources, right? It's because we are historically just, let's be real, luckier. Luckier than most other nations. And, once other nations catch up to our wealth, because that slowly is happening. A lot of, like, used to be podunk nations are, because of how easy it is to make the things that it's, required to do to have a good life, pretty soon the US isn't going to have anything going for it, because it doesn't have anything going for it now. It's just a place where we technically do the bare minimum of being a government. We build roads like everybody else. We have schools that are worse than everybody else's, actually. And pretty much every aspect of the US, if you put that money to any other nation, and used it as they would, you would, even unless it's like fucking a nightmare realm like Venezuela, which might as well be the realm of fucking Barovia. If you compare the US's usage of money and compare it to the mileage it gets to any other countries, the US is a disappointment. Oh my goodness, the sky is... Oh, okay. Anyway, we just waste our fucking money because we use resources so inefficiently, because we're all about making sure that the rich have the most money. And I'm just, I'm tired of it. And if you want the world to be any different, you may have to fight and kill people. A lot of people want to just assume that the right would, win. But I don't think that's necessary. I don't think that the right will necessarily win any political conflict at all unless we just let it, unless we just give up violence. Because, let's be real, on a level, I feel like the reason we're partially giving violence to the right is because we don't want to be victims of it, because a lot of the left is so used to being victims of violence. And I understand that, but I don't think we should... that doesn't... Just because it's understandable doesn't mean it's the right thing, After I build this house, this is going to be the part of the video where I just try to figure out how to do something in Minecraft, and the rest is just like chatter, right? So I apologize if my commentary isn't as good, but I'm locking the fuck in. I'm locking in. I don't know. Maybe I'm insane. Maybe I'm just an insane, violent, criminal or whatever. But I just want people to care. I want people to care, and I think that people doing violence is a necessary part of caring. Whoa, whoa. Whoa there, Skipper. Hold on. Hold on. Am I cooking? Maybe I just, like... Okay. Do you just ever think, like, nothing's going to... Like, I know that one day there's a big chance that... Because, like, if we don't go left... If the world doesn't go left, it's gonna die. Right, like, right-wing policies are causing the end of the world. Right-wing climate change policies causing the end of the world. Our resource use, right-wing resource use causes the end of the world. The world will either end or go left. And, I don't think that's going to happen peacefully. I don't think billionaires are going to give things up peacefully. And it might be in the form of political assassinations. It might be in the form of, your Charlie Clanks and your oh, that's horrendous. That's, you know what I mean. Things aren't going to be easy eventually because, let's be real, we use so much plastic and we chop down so many trees so that we can sustain cows that are inefficiently feeding people. We're going to have to go right. We're going to have to go left, or we're going to die, And I would rather us have the tools. I'd rather us think about the things that we'll have to do and, prepare for them, like, mentally, and make it so that people who have... I don't want the only people killing other people to be the ones who are evil, right? I think that is a much bleaker world, and if you agree, comment, I don't know, comment something like stupid or some shit. Yeah. Comment that you also don't want people to die. I don't know. I'm just trying to feed. I'm trying to feed the algorithm. I've got a full-time job, and I'd rather I just make Minecraft videos and talk about Minecraft. Although honestly, I don't care. I'm fine. A lot of YouTubers are like, oh, this takes 40 million hours. I designed this series to be something that I just sort of do. I just wake up and I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess I'm gonna film a RantCraft video, and then the thumbnail's like actually the full-time job because I normally draw those by hand. Sometimes I like trace an image, but usually it's just like, I actually just did some art. And usually I inspire them from stock photos or something relevant. But it's still hard work. And would I rather get more recognition for it? Yes. Will I? Probably not. The algorithm's chock full of Minecraft videos. I don't know. It's just... I'm tired of people giving up the tool, and we do this all the time. Like, the left is so guilty of just giving up its tools and its options so that, you know, they don't feel like they're going to get murdered, or they don't feel like they're going to lose their job. I think you should just be willing to lose your job. Like, straight up, you know, I'm putting it on the line. I'm putting my face on YouTube. And, you know, I think that if you can't even say that kind of thing, like, in YouTube, like, how useful are you politically? Let's be real. Like, if you can't even, like, say your ideas, how do you think you're ever gonna, you know, get them into office, right? I think that a lot of people are too selfish, and that kind of bleeds into their take on this issue. You know, they're just thinking about themselves, and they're just thinking about the now, or they're just thinking about, you know, this and that. I'm willing to stand on business. You know, if I get fired for the things I say, okay, I get fired. I'm not gonna complain. I'm not gonna whine. I'm not gonna cry about it. Okay, guess I got fired for the things I said. Cool. Time to be a left-wing grifter, because that's how you actually get shit done. You get shit done by just sticking to your guns. That's why the right wins so much. And I'll go into this more in another video. But the reason that the right wing wins so much in so many countries nowadays is because they're authentic, and left-wing people have to think about, you know, everything they say. And a lot of the time, because the nature and the historical persecution of left-wing individuals and of people who want to change things in a lot of nations, well, it's just scary, you know. But there's a reason the right wins consistently, and that's because they're more authentic. And I think part of that is just accepting violence as a thing that they might have to do, and not, you know, bitching about it, not moaning about it, not saying, "Oh my God, it's so bad." You know what right-wing motherfuckers say when a political opponent dies? Lol. Maybe even lamau, you know? And I think that we need that ruthlessness. I think that ruthlessness is a positive aspect of the right. And I think that we need that. Not like the complete lack of empathy, but I think that is, well, one, it's just good politics, right? You're just, you know, why would you say it's bad when your enemy dies? That just makes you look weak, right? And that's what most people are going to think. They're going to think, oh, wow, you're so fragile and sensitive. And they're not exactly wrong, you know? And I can't say it. Like, when I heard that one Charlie Kirk quote, which, you know, if he was a left-winger, holy shit, what a fucking asset. What a fucking trooper he could have been, right? If Charlie Kirk was a left-wing individual, I feel like, you know, he'd be the big communism builder, right? Because he's just so authentic. Like, a guy who just truly did not give a fuck if what he's saying could get him arrested, if what he's saying, you know, would get people, like, murdering him. A lot of people now are posthumously, like, glazing him. And, you know, I think whenever I think of guys like Charlie Kirk, I think constantly of when the black nationalist, the black separatist leader, met with a Nazi party leader, and they were both fascists, by the way. And he was like, wow, he's like the Black Hitler. That's what I think of Charlie Kirk. And he said that, like, fully earnestly, like, fully approvingly. Like, he was very happy to meet, he was honored to meet this guy who, in a way, like, sort of mirrored himself and mirrored what he wants in people. That's how I feel about Charlie Kirk. I feel like, wow, you know, he's my Black Hitler. He is a guy who, even if I completely disagree with him and want him dead, or you know, I'm happy that he's dead, Rippozo. I think that, in a way, he displayed a lot of admirable traits. And I think that his honesty, like, a lot of libs are like, oh my God, look at these horrible things he said. Like, empathy is, like, horrendous. And, like, yes, those things are bad because he said them. And when he said that, he meant, like, empathy for poor people because he's on the side of evil. But, you know, let's not pretend like he didn't have the right attitude about politics. He knew how to play the game. And, you know, I think that there's a lot of things that you can learn from the guy and you know, a lot of things about him that will help you be more politically effective. You know, not to glaze this force of evil, but you know, you can learn how to win through watching people who win. You know, that's my take on the issue. If you want to learn how to play a game, watch a master, right? Anyway, I have officially started construction on the... I can't tell which wing that is. Is this north? Anyway, I've officially started construction on this wing, and in the next RantCraft video, I will start construction on another wing. Or no, I'll finish this construction. Then I'll start construction on another wing. It's gonna be in and out, you know, 3 seasons. Season 3, Season 4, RantCraft. Woo! Okay, bye.